I feel like Will Smith is getting a huge pass, and so far you had an event where someone came up and smacked someone else in the face, and then they just sat back down, accepted their Oscar, went and partied after the fact, and nothing happened. Hey guys, welcome back. I'm top music attorney, Miss Krystle, and on the last video, we brought the breaking news that Will Smith had assaulted Chris Rock at the Oscars. In that video, not only did I react in real time to the uncensored footage, kind of going through what happened, but I also gave you a legal analysis of the potential claims that Chris Rock now has against Will Smith. Now, in the last video, I presented the question of would we hear some kind of apology from Chris Rock? Not because Chris Rock owes Will Smith or anybody else an apology for simply doing his job as a comedian, as a presenter, but whether it kind of would play well, right? In the court of public opinion, and maybe he had hit a nerve with Will and Jada. But the bottom line is that what Will Smith did is not okay. He broke the law, he assaulted someone, and whether someone should be apologizing or not is really the least of, in this case, Will Smith's concerns. So in today's video, there have been a ton of updates. I'm gonna jump into them, including the fact that we still have this question of potentially could there be charges brought at some point, even if, let's say, Chris Rock decides not to bring the charges himself? We're gonna get into all of that in today's video, so let's go. Hi guys, I'm top music attorney, Miss Krystle. I'm an entertainment attorney, public speaker, and creator of the Top Music Attorney School for artists and record labels. I'm the owner of Dukes Up Records, and most importantly, I'm an independent artist. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on those bell notifications so you don't miss my weekly videos giving you my best tips on the music business, industry news updates, and teaching you how to stay legally protected. Let's go. All right, so the first kind of question that I had was where was security in this whole situation? Because we have this comparison that we can easily make between, well, it's Will Smith. And so it kind of feels like there was a lot more almost entitlement and lack of taking meaningful effort when there had been an assault, an actual crime that had been committed. And for example, if it had been some crazed fan that had run in and, hit Chris Rock across the face, you better believe that security, or maybe if they had off-duty police officers available, that they would have at a minimum been escorted out, but in a more likely scenario, escorted out in handcuffs. And none of that happened. He sat back down and I didn't see anyone bothering him. Maybe even to just take him aside and be like, hey, are you okay? Even if no one was really batting an eye at what had just happened, which seemed to kind of be the case. So for me, I kind of take issue with the fact that he just seemed to get this pass because he's Will Smith. And what's unfortunate is that not moments later did Will Smith then win the Best Actor Oscar for the film King Richard. And so in essence, he kind of spoiled this incredible moment in his career. But then with his acceptance speech, which was incredibly emotional, and for a moment, I definitely felt for whatever was going on. There's so much more that seems to be going on behind the scenes and that potentially led up to this event. And I feel like Charlemagne said it really well, which was there had been so much kind of buildup and it eventually all just landed on Chris Rock's face. And Chris Rock probably had very little to do with that kind of violent outburst that we saw. Now, he made a point to apologize to the Academy, to the other nominees, but he didn't actually issue any kind of apology to Chris Rock, nor have we seen any kind of apology come since yesterday. Actually, guys, just announced we were about to upload this video. Will Smith has officially made a statement, which I'm going to go ahead and read. Violence in all of its forms is poisonous and destructive. My behavior at last night's Academy Awards was unacceptable and inexcusable. Jokes at my expense are part of the job, but a joke about Jada's medical condition was too much for me to bear, and I reacted emotionally. I would like to publicly apologize to you, Chris. I was out of line and I was wrong. I really wonder if he has made a private apology, and we'll talk about that in a second, but this is his public apology. I'm embarrassed and my actions were not indicative of the man I want to be. There's no place for violence in a world of love and kindness. I'd also like to apologize to the Academy. We heard that from Will last night. The producers of the show, all the attendees, everyone watching around the world. I'd like to apologize to the Williams family and my King Richard family. I deeply regret that my behavior has stained what has been an otherwise gorgeous journey for all of us. I'm a work in progress. So I'm not surprised to see this from Will Smith. He just seems like a very intelligent emotionally intelligent guy in most scenarios, but I just do wonder whether he is connected with Kris on a private level. Maybe they had a phone call where things kind of stand between them, or he's just issuing this statement because, if I was on the other side of this and I just saw the statement, I would wonder, why didn't you reach out to me directly? So hopefully as more details come out about that, we can keep you guys updated as well. And I will note my curiosity as to why it took almost a full 24 hours from when this happened for Will to issue the statement, because the statement is just kind of obvious, right? Hey, I shouldn't go and hit people. I'm sorry for the violence. I'm sorry for it distracting from this beautiful moment that I had. Why did it take so long for him to type that up and post it? And in a similar kind of way of how we scrutinized Travis Scott, right, following the Afterward festival tragedy and what he did, what he said, the fact that he was partying, the fact that Drake went out and was partying, he dropped $1 million at a strip club. How someone behaves after some event occurs is important. And in Will Smith's case, we saw Will dancing with his Oscar and getting jiggy with it at an after party. We also saw him, going back to the whole where was security, he's sitting in his seat. He has not been escorted out. And there was even a moment where P. Diddy is making a comment about what had happened, and you see Will Smith laughing and having a good time. So, again, we don't know what's going on in Will's head and whether he's just trying to keep up appearances at this point. But it certainly doesn't play well when you just assaulted a person on national TV. And I can see these arguments of Will Smith is just incredibly entitled, because if this was anybody else, the outcome of what had happened would have been very different. Now, guys, in the same kind of way, I love Chris Rock. He's an amazing creator and artist and comedian. I love Will Smith. I think he is fantastic in so many rights, and that's why, I kind of started off the video yesterday and just said this is so out of character for him. So let's move on to what's next. Chris Rock, is he bringing charges, and will he file a lawsuit? And the answer is, as of now, Chris Rock has said that he is not going to bring charges. But, of course, this could potentially be out of his hands, right? So LAPD did issue a statement and they said, we're aware of the situation. Obviously, everyone saw it happen. And you don't need to have the victim's participation in order for there to be criminal charges pursued. And the LAPD has stated that because there's no participation from Chris Rock, he doesn't want to bring charges, so they're not going to pursue anything. But we have seen other scenarios where a government body will nonetheless pursue criminal charges, and that might be because of things like public pressure. So what do you guys think about this, right? So do you think that Chris Rock is going to change his mind? Maybe will the LAPD change its mind? Or maybe you fall on the other side of this and you are in support of Will and Jada. And I've seen in the comment section, you guys know I'm responding to a ton of your comments. There are a lot. But some of you are definitely coming out in support of Will and what he did in this kind of show of strength for his wife. And there definitely are people who are in support of Will. And so, drop your comments down below as far as where you land on this. Now, I will say on one hand, this romanticized idea of your man standing up for you and fighting that good fight and punching some guy out, that sounds great. But in the real world, when there are real legal consequences, typically you get arrested, you go to jail. And like I said, I just feel like Will Smith is getting a huge pass. And so far, you had an event where someone came up and smacked someone else in the face, and then they just sat back down, accepted their Oscar, went and partied after the fact, and nothing happened. It's kind of a weird world that we live in. So you might be asking, where do things stand? Are they still fighting? So P. Diddy did make a statement and he said, oh no, they're brothers. They've kind of squashed it. Things are good. But as of the recording of this video, TMZ did provide an update saying, no, there's no reconciliation that has taken place. And guys, you always have to, unless you hear it straight from Will's mouth, right? A post from Will, a post from Kris. You can't kind of just believe that they've squashed it, and nor do I believe that they have. I mean, I think it's notable that Chris Rock immediately left the Oscars, but Will didn't. Will sat back down. Will went to the after party. And so I just really wish, as much as I love Will, what was he thinking? I wish that he would have taken a beat, left, gone backstage, and not just kind of sat there and continued this facade of everything was okay. And you might be asking, what about the Academy? I don't know if anyone else had this thought, but why did Will still get the Oscar? And maybe it was just they were on a schedule and they didn't know what to do in a pinch and they were just shocked by what had happened. But obviously he still received this huge acknowledgement from the Academy. And I'm not saying he should not have received the Oscar or he shouldn't keep the Oscar, but just in this, if it was anybody else, you know, where was security? And everything was just fine and dandy. He gets up, he accepts his Oscar, he goes and he sits back down. Well, what we do know as of today is that the Academy is kind of launching this investigation to review their bylaws, state statute, codes of conduct, just to see basically what kind of sanctions or disciplinary action they're going to take against Will Smith. I don't think they're going to be taking his Oscar away from him, but they might suspend his membership, for example, to the Academy. And if someone who works for the Academy is watching this video, I would also maybe throw into the ring, maybe you should also take a look at your security policy and what you do in these kinds of situations moving forward. Because, you know, another way to look at potential legal liability is what is the Academy's legal liability in this situation for not intervening, right? So there was a good little period where we saw Will Smith walking up to Chris Rock, and Chris Rock is like, oh, what's, you know, kind of going on? And he laughs and he's trying to just embrace what's about to happen because obviously he has no clue what's going on. And at no point did anyone intervene. And we don't know the extent of any injury that Chris Rock suffered. He may not have had any significant injury, but let's say Will Smith broke his jaw, right? So now there is a lawsuit, there are criminal charges, and the Academy is now included in some kind of lawsuit for not intervening or having sufficient security to protect Chris Rock. And I kind of made the point in the last video that, you know, Chris Rock conducted himself in such a professional way. He seemed incredibly dazed. He was probably seeing stars, but still trying to play through it and trying to continue the show. Because obviously the other alternative is to just stop and walk off. But again, it goes back to, well, what about the Academy's representatives, people who were backstage? No one came on stage to see if he was okay. There's a lot that happens and did happen within the context of just a few moments. But now looking back at all these things, a lot of these questions are coming up still unanswered. We do know that Chris Rock is launching his Ego Death World Tour, and man, this is something that is going to follow him around, as well as Will Smith. Besides the virality of the memes that are happening today, the news articles, obviously at some point this will end and things will kind of simmer down, but as far as the legacy, I think that this is going to be remembered and something commented on for a long time in pop culture. And so I very much doubt that this is the last that we're going to hear of it. And I go back to, will Chris Rock change his mind? Will he press charges? Will he file a lawsuit? I look forward to when we actually hear an official statement from him on what he's feeling and what he's going to do next. As we're following this story, join our community, join the discussion. I love hearing from you guys, and it's helping to kind of direct where the conversation goes with not only this story, but all the other stories that we cover that happen in the entertainment and music business. So if you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe, turn on those bell notifications so you don't miss any videos. And as you guys know, I definitely have a passion for independent artists, helping them to build their own businesses. So if you're looking for some help, visit Top Music Attorney School at topmusicattorney.com. If you're interested in checking out a little of what I'm up to musically, just search Miss Krystle on all music platforms. And don't forget to come say hi on social media. I'm on social media platforms at Top Music Attorney. I'm gonna get out of here, but thank you for watching. I'll see you guys on the next one. I'm Top Music Attorney, Miss Krystle.